Alright guys, with It Chapter 2 being released this week, I have to talk about It Chapter 1, which I had reviewed initially on this channel whenever it came out 2 years ago in 2017. And I don't think that was a spoiler-filled video, so I guess this is a spoiler video on It 2017. But this one I felt like it was time to rewatch because I bought the Blu-ray, but I had never watched it on Blu-ray. I saw it twice in the theater. I thought it was that good in the theater. And rewatching this and rewatching the Tim Curry miniseries 1990s version at the same time, like I watched the 90s one 2 days ago and I just watched the 2017 one today, I really don't think there's a contest at all which one is better. Like I said in the It 1990 review, I felt like nostalgia really overtakes that movie, and for me, watching it as an adult, it is not scary in any way. Tim Curry's funny, but he's so tonally weird in that movie where everything else is deadpan serious. Except for him, he's not serious, so it's so strange. But rewatching 2017 iteration of it, which the first film from 2017 is Chapter 1, as it says at the end of the credits, is just about the kids. And I thought that that was very well done because the original miniseries did that too, but they were interspersed with a lot of scenes of them as adults too. But in this, it's literally them just as kids. And this movie, because of people's nostalgia for the 1990 It movie miniseries, people flew to the theaters to see this movie. And this is like, I think, is it the highest grossing horror movie now of all time? It is one of the highest grossing, and it is insane how much of a love of this character, that Pennywise, that brought people to go see this movie. And starting out rewatching the movie, the first like 5 minutes are for me like 10 times better than anything in the original 1990s miniseries. And the original 1990s miniseries is okay, it's not terrible, but this, in the first 5 minutes alone, I sat there like, this is immediately better. In every single way. And I really loved how it really did a good job with Bill and Georgie, because you know Georgie's going to get killed by Pennywise. Their first scenes together felt so genuine and real. And whenever Georgie finds Pennywise in the gutter, or in the sewer drain, like, it is, like, it's so well done, and it's kind of a repeat of the 90s miniseries where he is saying the same things, but in this one, it's cool because Pennywise is very just, the way that he pulls somebody in, especially a kid, is so effective, and pulls somebody in, and I mean in multiple ways than one, because he pulls in Georgie, as in he tells him like what we've got down here, and like what he says and describes makes even an adult want to trust him. Like, it's weird, this, because Bill Skarsgård is fantastic in this performance, and the way that he makes you feel, even though he's a stranger in the movie, you feel like you can trust him, and that's what's so scary about this version of Pennywise. You feel like you can trust him, and then boom, like he bites off Georgie's arm. And I like how in this version you see his arm get bit off, a kid's arm get bit off. That is awesome, and that is effective. I love seeing kid carnage in horror movies because we don't get that all the time. When we do, it's a special occasion. It's kind of like getting a special meal when you don't get special meals all the time. I describe it like that. I really like seeing that carnage, candy for a kid, being tortured. And that sounds bad, but like, in horror movies, it's mostly just adults. It's not kids, so, which makes sense. A lot of people think that it's cruel with kids, just like with animals. I feel like it's horribly cruel with animals in film, whether it's executed well or not. I hate when animals get killed in films. Now, Bill Skarsgård in this movie, like I said, is just incredible, and he's so, like, to me, he's different than Tim Curry because he is serious, but he's also humorous, while Tim Curry is basically just humorous throughout the whole movie. He doesn't have that same range. Even though Tim Curry is fantastic, he's just more of a humorous character in the other movie. In this one, Bill Skarsgård is terrifying and effective, and the way that they utilize how creepy this clown can be with scenes like whenever they're in the haunted house and he's in a fridge and he constricts out and twist himself back and forth out of it. And like the way he twists himself in a lot of situations where like they hurt him and injure him and he reverts back, it is very cool and very gross. Even though there's not any gore with him, like it's so gross to see him like his bones snapping and back into place and him fixing himself. That's really cool, and the sound effects are awesome. And the kids in this movie, I love the fact that the kids in the original 90s film are fine. I didn't mind them, but in this one they overtake them by a lot, because these kids, all almost unknown kids. I don't remember if Stranger Things came out right when this did or after it did. I think this came out after Stranger Things, but like Finn Wolfhard is in this, but he wasn't like a big presence yet. And now with Stranger Things, like he is really becoming a rising star in like, even though he doesn't know a lot, but he's become famous. And I really like that all these kids are very, very good in this movie. They are so believable and so real. And the movie really does a fantastic job. And I love how it's a horror movie too, and it does a fantastic job of being a horror movie that makes you care about the characters in a very, very well done way. Because all these kids, the way that Pennywise utilizes their fears, the way the kids are so humorous and so funny and so charming. Every one of them has a great joke. And they all feel so real with the writing. They feel like they're actual kids, like the way that they talk. Like I said with Finn Wolfhard's character, Richie, like he is the snarky kind of dick of the group. And he says a lot of stupid shit, and it's really funny, and it's just written well where you do believe that this kid would say this. And I really, really like the kid who played Bill. Jaden something, I forgot what his last name was, but he really is great in this movie, and his performance is really, really moving. And also, again, I'm forgetting last names, but Sophia, whatever her last name is, who plays Beverly, is, to me, again, so great. And everybody else in the movie is good, too, like the other kids, but those three are the ones that I think about the most. Like, they're the ones that have the most screen time and most presence, even though the other kids, like Mike and Ben and Eddie, they all, to me, are good, but they're just not the ones that I think of immediately on top of my head. But I really, really enjoyed all these kids. Their chemistry is great. They're very moving in these performances. And just, again, they feel so realistic. And I like the fact that this one, in this version, it's set in 1989, so whenever it's 27 years later, it will be in current time, whenever It Chapter 2 is released. So I really thought that was cool. And I love how it's in 1989, but it doesn't overly, like, exert all these 80s references. There are a couple funny ones. Like, there's a poster for Nightmare on Elm Street 5 at the marquee at the theater. Like, stuff like that, but it's not overly trying to take over, like, to overly show all these references to the 80s, like Stranger Things, even though I love Stranger Things. But this one is not trying to do that. It's very restrained with that. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that they're not going to just pander the whole time, even though pandering can be done well, like Stranger Things I think did it well, but in this film alone, I like that they didn't really pander to a lot of the things in the 80s. They just had a couple references to a band and a couple movies, but not really in the dialogue, just like in the background. So I did appreciate that a lot. And I really like that it works well with the aspect of, like, stranger danger, because in this time period, it was very prevalent and unfortunate, and I like that they used that to their advantage in the 80s and 90s, whenever this was happening a lot more prevalently before it was really a major concern. And I really appreciate that they used that in the movie. And I also like how, like in the miniseries too, like they become friends through terror and through all their struggles of dealing with this monster. But I love that it makes these characters so interesting and makes them stronger by the end, because they're just so charming as characters, and this fear that they all have to go through makes them better people. And I really, really love that, and I love how they just you have to get over this fear that they have. Each of them have their own fears, and I think that they work very, very well. And this movie, while not a big problem, has jump scares in it, but not in a way where they're overly used in a cheap way. Like, there's a couple jump scares that I'm just like, okay, I knew that was coming. Like whenever Beverly turns around and there's Pennywise. But it wasn't done badly. It's just a typical jump scare. But there is one jump scare in this movie that I think, and watching it in a theater was one of the best experiences of watching a movie in my life in the theater, in which there is one jump scare that I can't believe they pulled this off in such an incredible way. It's one of my favorites ever. Where they're in the garage watching the photos, and the photos keep clicking, and they're not like it's just going on its own. And then Pennywise becomes giant and jumps out of the screen. He is the height of the garage, inside the garage, chasing them in the darkness. And it is so frightening, but it is so funny, and that jump scare reaction is just so great. And watching that in the theater, watching people scream, freak out, and flail, and then laugh, like, that was a perfect use of a jump scare. Even though this movie has a couple jump scares that I think are just kind of there, that one in particular is one of my favorite jump scares ever. Like, it truly blew me away. I sat there both times in the theater, jumped, and just laughed and was freaking out like everybody else. And watching this with an audience in the theater was a joy. It was a joy to behold. That garage scene in particular is one of my favorites. And the way that he messes with them in like things that make the movie funny too, where like he's messing with them in the abandoned haunted house, where whenever two characters are trying to find a way out, and there's 3 doors, and then one says scary, one says not scary, and one says very scary, so they go in the not scary door, and then of course it's like a half ripped up corpse, and like they freak out and scream, and Richie's like, where's the rest of her? Like, those jokes make this movie not a comedy, but it makes the humor work so well, where it's a really fantastic balance of using scares but using humor as well. And also, it makes sense logically because it is a clown. A clown is humorous, but it's also a creepy clown. And I really love the use of how they balance humor and horror in this movie. They balance it very, very well. And also the use of the ironic humor of whenever you're in a room with these characters and the TV's on, it's usually this TV show where it's a lady talking to little kids about going into the sewer, and it's just always on. Whenever there's a TV in this movie, it's on, where like this character will say, let's go to the sewer's fun, that's where all the kids are, let's go inside and have fun. And like it's just in the background, and like it is so funny because it is so it's so ironic how it's just the adults are purposefully not like entranced, they're not like paying attention to this, but it just cracks me up that in the background there's just a lady on the TV saying, go to the sewers, it's fun, go down and go inside and go with all your friends, we'll float in there. Like, I love that humor. It's so funny that Pennywise is taken over the town in that way, and it's just they're desensitized to it. That's so cool. And then that scene where the bully Henry, when he kills his dad, like that scene of the lady on the TV with the kids, and she's like, go on, Henry, kill him. It's so hilarious because it is so insane, because it's just Pennywise on the TV, but it has that sense of humor where this character is doing a horrible thing, but the use of the humor in the scene is fantastic. I'm just the lady saying, kill him, and then all the kids rally up and say, kill him now, kill him. Like, it's so genuinely funny. And I just love that use of humor and horror at the same time. It's so well done. And then the final act is really good. Like, I really like all these characters going and saving, and like they go up to Pennywise and they fight him, beat him up, literally try to kill him, and they try and think they might have succeeded, but they don't really kill him. But I love that they do it to where they get over all their fears, and Pennywise keeps keeps changing into all these different fears that all the characters have, and I think that it really is done very well, especially with characters like Beverly, where whenever Pennywise, his face turns into her father's face, who's this molester dad, and like she like just impales them through the mouth, and like he turns back to Pennywise. Like I love how much damage these kids give to Pennywise because it's so well done, and how it builds on them becoming stronger as friends over this fear and getting over the fear. And I really love that final act. And I really love the final moments of the movie where it's not something in a typical horror movie where like these characters all make a blood pact, like cut themselves and hold their hands and make a pact for life. And it's actually a genuinely emotional and well done moment because these characters were built up so well. And this is a horror movie, but it's a horror movie about characters that you really do feel for and care for. And I thought that that just embodied the whole movie, like that final scene. Like it really summed up the whole movie with them holding hands together, that they are strong together. They have to be together to stop this thing whenever he comes back 27 years later. And I love that final moment. It's so well done. And this movie I just love. I think it's fantastic. I think it's easily better than the miniseries. While the miniseries has a couple okay things about it, like Tim Curry's great, it's not anything near great for me. I think that this is a great horror movie. It's fantastic. It's got great humor, great horror, great characters, great thrills. It's just got everything to it. And I love It 2017, and I still love it on a rewatch. It's the third time I've seen it. So that is my thoughts on It 2017 in preparation for It Chapter 2. And tell me down below what you think of It 2017. I want to know your guys' thoughts. I feel like a lot of you guys will love it, but for me, I do love it. So tell me down below what you think about it, and thank you guys so much for watching.